Welcome back to Kyloe Unmuted, our first episode in 2023. I am Rob Mann, your host. I'm also the regional sales manager here at Kyloe Partners, your Bullhorn specialists. With me today, I have a distinguished panel of automators. I have the OG automator and a man with a beautiful beard, Mr. Billy Davis, product manager over Animation and AI. Billy, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Rob.
And thank you for joining, as always. It's always great to catch up with you. I have Raymond Pennie, CEO and founder of Kyloe Partners. Raymond, how are you, sir?
I'm amazed by Billy's beard. I'm still getting over it.
Yeah. So, is anyone seeing the first time someone seeing Billy for the first time? This thing's new. And then we have the solutions consultant for the U.S. at Kyloe Partners, Paul Sabatino. Paul, how you doing?
Doing well, Rob. Pleasure as always, and glad to be part of the conversation.
And just so you guys know, if you don't understand a reference that Paul makes, wait about an hour and it usually comes to me, and then I laugh and I send him a message. So just so you know, that's usually how that goes. So, but if you get it right away, you are far smarter than I am most of the time. He actually did that to me live on stage once during a presentation, and I just blanked out. I didn't know what was going on. So thanks, Paul. I always appreciate those.
Keeping you on your toes.
I appreciate it. All right. So, guys, we're here today not to talk about Billy's beard or Paul's jokes. We are here to talk about automation and where we see people going wrong, which is why we have Billy on, because if anyone has heard about any number of things over the last, since 2018, Billy, what's going wrong with Bullhorn automation or automation tools, it is Billy. And then, obviously, myself, Paul, and Raymond, often hear about it and try to help people, grow their strategy and get deeper. So we have a top 5 list from Billy that we worked on beforehand, and we're just going to go through that and think about different ways to strategize, getting beyond it. Lots of stories, and this should wrap up in about, no more than 20 minutes or so. But Billy, and by the way, guys, if you have comments, questions, concerns, please put them in the chat. We will try and answer them. So if you have a question, we'll jump in, probably answer it while we're going through this list. And hello, Courtney. Thank you for jumping on. All right. So, Billy, number 1, where are we going wrong? Or no, sorry, we're going to go count. We're going to go backwards. So, number 5, where do you see people going wrong, Billy?
Cool. Yeah, we'll add some suspense and go backwards 5 to 1.
Yeah.
So I think number 5 here is just not investing kind of correctly in running your Bullhorn automations. Now that can be either from kind of a team perspective, but then also a time perspective as well. So like one of the common examples I see is people get automation, they get really, really excited about it. They go through their implementation, right? But then it loses momentum. They get really busy. That's what happens in staffing and recruiting. You get pulled in a lot of different directions, and that initial momentum can kind of dimmer a bit. So that's definitely something we see go wrong, and love to hear your all thoughts about where you see, clients do that well or put safeguards in place to avoid it.
Yeah, I think, for this one, it boils down to, no matter who you invest in, it matters that you invest, right? So whether you are looking internal or external, invest in someone to kind of own and champion the product and your workflow automation initiative. Invest the time to self-reflect, understanding where your manual processes lie and where the workflow bottlenecks exist. And, invest time off the back end of that to then map out those workflows before implementing anything. You've got to understand where you're at, prior to starting with implementing this to figure out where you want to be and how you're going to get there.
Yeah, I've seen that people expect Bullhorn automation to happen automatically, and the best ones happen when they've been given most thought and there's been most preparation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think continuously training your team is always the way to, is one of the things you need to invest, but also having just the right people in place beforehand. So
I think even small steps, like devoting 30 minutes to an hour a week, will get you compounding kind of interest and results. Whereas if you don't go in the tool for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, when you do come back in, it's gonna be rough. Kind of get back to that learning curve. So put some calendar blocks on. Make sure you can chip away. Even on the very busy times, you're still in there and doing what you want to do.
Yeah,
it's also good if people have got a plan. and they go at it sequentially and maybe always just try and add another one, or maybe do something 1% better based on how it was working before, that really helps to see constant progress.
Love that.
Love it. All right. So, kind of focus on resourcing the team is also investing. So making sure you have people who understand it and who have time blocked off, to your point, Billy, each week to do something about it. And, if you're a larger organization, you probably have that person or people. If you're not a larger organization, you may not have those people. But there are lots of resources to help you, especially now, between Bullhorn and any of the SI partners like Kyloe. There's lots of different ways to resource that and to basically, hey, we know we need this. We don't know about what to do to get it running. So come in. Can you come help us?
Yeah,
is essentially the conversation. So, yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. BD. That's what I call Billy. Number 2. What do you got?
Yeah, so number 4 here is, if you're a database nerd like I am, you'll definitely, this will hit home. It's the problem is not having a single source of truth. So you have many different kind of areas or touch points or engagements or technologies, but they don't all funnel back into your core ATS or CRM. So this can cause a multitude of problems, but the most common one that results from this is you have one side of the business that's not talking to the other side of the business. So you have perhaps a marketing campaign, but then your recruiters or the people that are inside your ATS CRM aren't aware of the results of that or what's going on. So you create a very disjointed experience for candidates, clients, and even your internal employees, which obviously has a bunch of things that can kind of cause negative results for you.
Yeah, we were speaking about that earlier, which is funny enough, that making sure that the sales team or the team that are dealing with responses from automation, that they know what's happened, and they know what's happened and who it happened to and when it happened, and therefore the responses there can feel part of the flow and feel part of a real process, and just making it that all the data available to know which automation they just got, which stage they're in. Did they get a, hey, can you update your details, or did they get, thank you very much, good luck on your interview? All those things are vitally important, and for everyone to be able to see it.
Yeah, I often go back to this idea that there's kind of a bunch of things that tie in here. So you have analytics and automation, and those things are tightly intertwined, because if you have a single source of truth, both of those will be infinitely easier to use, right? So if you want to get better at reporting, which in today's world
Everyone does.
You need to strategically be better at it, make everyone's life easier, and you also can use automation because the single source of truth is updated and clean. Think mergers and acquisitions, which last week our good friends at Salo were part of an acquisition with Corn Ferry, so congrats to those guys. But you good data, good reporting helps in that process, and just being able to see it and what it means, and then teaching your team what it means too. So
I think that also contributes to the 1% improvement, because unless you measure it and the information flows back, you're unable to see what's working because you want to do more of it. Sometimes people get excited about trying to fix the things that aren't working rather than doing more and more and more of the things that are working. And that's a great way to go.
Yeah, it's not like only governments can take the things that are working and put them on the shelf and keep doing. Or you watch like offenses in the NFL or college, and you're like, oh, the running's working, so let's go throw passes. Probably not the right idea. Anyway, all right.
Yeah, and a great place to start with that too is a mantra that I used way back in the day in my staffing experience was, if it's not in the database, it didn't happen. So if you make
I wouldn't
that
get paid commission if I didn't get everything in Bullhorn. So yeah,
for sure.
I agree with you. That's how I learned. I was like, if it's not in there, I'm not getting paid, so I'm going to do it. So anyway, all right, we're going in reverse order. So number 3, Mr. Davis.
So number 3, and this one dovetails really nicely with the last one, and this is around just having poor data quality and no standardization of process. And those typically, you'll find, if you find one, you find the other in most cases. but causes a lot of issues where your recruiters, your salespeople don't trust the information that's in the system. And because of that, they start looking for external sources, and you get away from the whole value proposition of having that single source of truth, having an ATS CRM.
Yep.
Yeah. I think automation it's really all about pattern events and predictable outcomes when you kind of think about it. So when it comes to standard process, you want to ask yourself things like, are the workflows we're looking to automate rule-based, or do the workflows change often? If they are ones that change often, that's going to increase cost of ownership, when you need to go and update and tweak for those. But remember that workflow automation does best with systems that are structured and digitized, with process rules that have been standardized. And data governance, it's all about consistency. So when it comes to bad data, ask yourself, are you capturing the right data? And are you capturing it consistently across the board? What are our current data gaps today? Is it missing contact fields, dated information, misspellings, typos, duplicative records? That's all going to impact what you're able to automate and take action off of, and your overall kind of candidate or customer experience. So I just like to think that, your data will serve you best, when it's captured consistently and your database is cleaned and updated regularly. So I could go on and on here, but just know that packages like Kyloe's connected automation that we've come up with, we have inclusions, for these areas, and would be happy to connect offline and dive a bit deeper.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to really highlight here and maybe give examples of, right, Paul, is so, and this is for locums recruiting, I had no access to claim ownership of a candidate. I had to prove that I got a new resume and had a conversation that had a template as a note. And then that note type was tagged the correct way. And then I would CC in Bullhorn, in this case, or ping my admin and say, hey, new resume's in from today, and here's the note, please give me ownership. Now you may not need to do that. It may not make sense to your business, but for locums it did. But anything where you use a certain note type at a certain period, and then using templates is really helpful, by the way, in note types. Or you need to have these things before you submit, and making sure these fields are filled out before you submit. So any kind of number of those things. And again, you may not know what you don't know about how to use the system, right? You might have done, express implementation with Bullhorn, and now you started with 2 users and now you're at 25. So if you want to grow beyond that, a good way to do that is to work with people who do this every day to kind of help you understand what that means. And Billy, how many times have you seen that in the last, since 2018?
Yes, I mean, so common. I mean, I think one of duplicates is such a problem in most databases. So that's why I love Kyloe's deduplication tool, because I mean, you can create your own kind of rules and engines around that to handle it, which is really important, especially if, like me before, you've made the mistake of merging the wrong duplicate and have to walk that back in a line by line, edit by edit, which is quite painful. So it's nice to have that kind of flexibility and control. But unlocking that kind of database quality, like the best and most often transformation that I hear is from a really excited executive, where they say our recruiters now are searching for candidates in our database first before they're going to a job board or a third party site. So obviously that lowers the acquisition cost of candidates, and many times you're talking to people that are already in your database anyways. But you can create really, really powerful revenue and efficiency gains from that transformation taking place.
And it talks to the connected recruiting that
Billy, you didn't say.
Yeah, there you go. You didn't say it, so I thought I'd bring it in. You have that, and you keep nurturing the people that are already on your database. Maybe just as a quick story, I'm obviously a duplicate on 2 or 3 people's databases, and I love it when I get the same message 30 seconds apart or 2 or 3 seconds apart. You go, guys, can you dedupe me, please?
Yeah.
Billy, we strive as a team to not get in trouble with our head of marketing or demand gen. And if someone didn't drop connected recruiting into this conversation, you would have been in trouble, buddy. So
I don't know about that. I mean,
you owe Raymond a coffee
awesome.
over here. There you go. All right, there you go.
For sure.
Good job.
Appreciate it, Raymond.
No problem.
Trying to keep you out of trouble, BD. All right. So going down, number 2. This is a big one. I like this one a lot.
Yeah. So number 2, and this is, if you've ever implemented any staffing technology, you understand it's all about your internal teams and getting their kind of buy-in, that whole change management kind of process, getting them in. So it's getting the buy-in from your field level recruiters, salespeople, and then keeping kind of an ongoing, continual training, improvement, communication mindset.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes it's interesting to explain to someone that happens automatically, and they know their process, and then there's something that no one actually does. Now that's the blessing of automation, but also if they forget that bit's automated or that part of the process is working, then they may go and do it themselves. And I sometimes you get bad experiences where you may be being communicated in a few different ways. But if and maybe it ties back to the poor data, if the field team understand what happens when they change a status, if that drives an automation that sends a message either internally or externally or to the candidate or to the line manager, then it's important they know, and it's important they do it at the right time rather than sweeping up on a Friday at 5 o'clock and you're logging the activity you should have done, which then starts to fire a bunch of automations at 20 past 5 on a Friday when the event happened on Tuesday.
Yeah. I think one of the other common adages in staffing is, old habits die hard. And when automating or trying to standardize stuff, you're probably going to be asking or requiring, the users to do something different. So being able to explain to them not only the what, but the why. By now doing, acting in this manner will allow us to automate that and take away that pain that they're feeling, that they're not associating with, well, it's because I'm skipping this step or not, documenting, to trigger. So being able to explain the why, is extremely important to increase buy-in, from the organization as you change process.
Yeah, and I think you get the buy-in from the field, which can mean a number of things. I think a good workflow is, if you're going to deploy new automations, deploy it with a couple of people or one division, and then use the success and the metrics and the ROI from that division to tell the story about why you're rolling it into the next one. And then my other point for this, which is kind of unrelated but related, is when I ask staffing leaders if they train their teams, they say, yeah, during onboarding. I think we missed the point of what training is, because the last time I checked, Billy, you do Diamond Dallas Page yoga, but if I asked you when the last time you did it, you'd say today, right? Because you do it every day. You do it every day. That's training. Doing it once is not training, right? There's no ongoing. That's why the ING's in there. It's not ongoing. If there's no every day or once a week.
I like that. Yeah, the
right?
ing of it.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, making it a jar, and whatever it is. But yeah, guys, if you have onboarding or you have training, those are two different things. So let's make them two different things, because that's going to really help automation. It's going to help your data quality. It's going to help people use the system. It's going to help them make more money. And ultimately, it's going to help make more placements and you as the leader of the organization. So training and onboarding are two different things. One happens continuously. One happens when they join the company. So just like
there's probably a reminding in there that people just need to remember some of the things that happen, because it's easy to forget. You've got a busy desk, you've got a target, you've got lots of people happening, you've got scarce candidates, you've got demanding customers, and you might just forget stuff. So it's always good to have a little easy prompt to remind you.
Quick story too for that, and then we can jump into the last one. Is I was speaking with a client. We're talking about marketing, and I asked, how often they ask for referrals at his business. He's like 15 recruiters, and they're like, I have one person who's really good at it. And then he went in and told me this like amazing workflow of how to do it. And so to my last point, I asked him, I was like, is there a video of that somewhere where your team can easily find that? And when was the last time you went through that whole process with your team? And he gave me like that shy smile, and he was like, I can't tell you. I was like, that's not good. That's just.
So you took the recording? You took the recording, you snipped it and sent it to him?
No, I didn't record the call. So I could have, but it was it was on the phone. So, but yeah, he did this incredible like walkthrough of how to make it work. And I was just like, is there any way someone else can find that's on your team and remind themselves of it? So you should record what happens with an automation and like quick videos or someplace in the internal database or library where you have these. And if you don't have one and you want to grow and use automation well, I think that's something you don't need to invest a ton of time in long term, because you just make the quick videos and you upload them. But you might need to do some help setting up. And unfortunately, Billy and I and Raymond and Paul have a lot of experience doing that and creating, teachables or courses that you can save unlisted on YouTube or anywhere, Vimeo. So happy to chat with you about those if you need. But I do think video, quick 2-minute lessons is a great thing for that ongoing training. All right, little drum roll, Billy. Go ahead, drop number 1 for everybody.
Yeah, so we're going on the biggest kind of thing where companies go wrong with automation. It's around not documenting your automations and your process. So there's kind of two big parts where this comes into play. Number one, if you don't document well, you don't have the benefit of getting kind of this eagle eye view of your life cycles, of what's going on, what are the triggers. So you're not able to step back and figure out, are there any gaps? Are there anything that I need to do still to kind of create this great experience end to end? And then the second aspect of this is, if you're not documenting, if the person that's running your automations gets sick, leaves the company, right, you're back to almost square. It's really difficult for someone to kind of pick up the pieces and figure out what's going on. So putting that in place ensures that you'll keep your momentum kind of no matter what's happening. So that's why really, really key to fix this one. So really interested to hear thoughts of the crew here on what you've seen work well.
Yeah, we get lots of calls or lots of customers or lots of just general owners of recruitment business going, hey, I bought Bullhorn Automation. Initially, it worked really well. And you go, great. What happened next? Oh, well, then we sort of forgot. Or we got busy and we implemented something else. And they haven't gone back to it. And by not going back to it, it stayed the same. Whereas one of the great things is hearing about people who've done a new automation that gets great results, and then being able to share it and knowing that this one works. Okay, let's remember how we did it, what we're going to do next, how we're going to improve upon it, share it with other people, because the ideas drive ideas. And if you have one department or one team who's really good and they don't share it, then you end up creating silos. And well, hey, there's no Kyloe and Kyloe. I have to be there. But sharing best practice across everyone so that you can get better results. Because again, back to my incremental 1%, if you can just continue to get 1% and 1% and 1%, then you look back and a couple of months later, you're 20% better.
I like it. Yeah, no need to, this kind of goes back to that video, recording the workflows, understanding what you're doing. So if you're doing it for the recruiters and the field team, you also by default, kind of like reporting and automation are tied together because they rely on good data. Recording what you're doing will help you with the marketing team, the future marketing team, the future recruiters. But yeah, definitely document it. Definitely make it easy to find. And let your people know that it's there and continue to remind them. And because by the other part of this is, if it's easily documented, people can see what happened. The smartest people in your business are probably the people who do what they have to do every day. So like, your recruiters are the smartest about recruiting. Your salespeople are smartest about sales, right? Like, I haven't recruited in a while. So like, if I was going to ask, hey, what automation should we run? I'm going to ask the recruiters. And if they can see what's already there, maybe they can give us better ideas on what we should be doing or what we can automate. So, help them help you.
Yeah. It's not set it and forget it. If you look at it kind of like race car driving, right? The race starts and the pit crew doesn't just do nothing. They're running numbers and analytics and looking at performance in the moment, in game, management versus, post game management. They're looking at what's working, what's not. Maybe that's A/B testing of messaging, but you're constantly fine tuning that engine and making minor tweaks, to pick up small efficiencies, like Raymond said, that will compound on each other.
Yeah.
And if you can name them in a way that makes sense to everyone, rather than a name that only makes sense to me, because I've got some automations running on our Bullhorn database that I wrote that begin with RP and then don't really relate to what they ended up doing, because that was the name I set at the beginning, and I didn't go back to correct it when I improved upon it. And that just makes it, again, harder for everyone else to pick it up and run with it and improve upon it.
If you saw the names that are in people's Hairfish's databases, you would write Bill like it's.
Yeah,
like,
that's why I like to be as literal as possible. So then you can read descriptively what the automation, what the list is. So then you can have a good idea of what's going to be in there. And then I also love the idea of having either using acronyms, using kind of a Dewey Decimal System type idea where you're numbering, lettering your automations as prefixes. So then it's really easy to kind of grab them and look at them holistically. So you could say, like, I want to look at all my candidate automations, this part of the journey, put that prefix.
Oh, hold on a sec. Can you guys hear Billy?
Yeah, we can. Well,
went-
he stopped for a minute, but I think what he
Yeah,
was
for a
going to
minute.
say is, yeah, if you can start to have that whole connected recruiting journey, the connected recruiting journey having either a common nomenclature, and I love that word. I don't know what it means, but I know it's there, so that you see which automations are running in that part of the process, and then you can either go and improve upon them, or they're easy to find to go adjust when you discover they don't work.
Got it.
Yeah.
Billy, you back? There you are. Okay.
I am. I get really excited talking about automation. Sometimes my hands get going and I hit my mic and then it drops audio for a few minutes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm gonna sit in my hands for the rest of
Oh
this.
no, we're gonna wrap up
Yeah.
here. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much. Everyone who tuned in, thank you. Michael Williams, yes, the wordplay was on a next level today. So I appreciate you you tuning in and commenting on our ing usage. Billy, so if you guys are looking to get better, I think one of the main themes is you do need to invest time and be thoughtful. And if you don't have a ton of it, or you're not sure where to start, there are lots of resources. Bullhorn has this great methodology, the great philosophy of connected recruiting that you should at least study and read, probably like once a month, just to kind of refresh yourself as you're getting new to it.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you. You're welcome, Joshua. By the way, I would highly recommend. You need people who either are going to be internal and trained well, and Bullhorn can help with that. Kyloe can help with that. The SI partners can help with that. And if you need like a partner to hold your hand and walk with you through this process, Kyloe can do that. And we have our connected automation platform for that, which is Paul's wheelhouse. But I'm happy to pretend like I know what I'm talking about still. Or so is Raymond. So anyway.
Shameless plug for Billy. If you're not following or subscribed to Billy, it's like watching a young Julia Child make beef bourguignon. So do yourself a favor and subscribe immediately, if not sooner.
I'm glad I got that reference very quickly, Paul. But, it has to do with eating. So anyway, all right, Billy. Any last word of wisdom?
Thanks so much for having me. I think it's a really exciting time for staffing and recruiting as far as technology and automation goes. Kyloe's been around for a long time, helping so many companies get there. So great to know in the industry. And the really great part about the timing is, you don't have to start from scratch. You can learn from people that have been doing this for years and in some cases decades, and really jumpstart your efficiency and getting things going in the right direction.
Which one of us has been doing it for decades? I'm just trying to work that one out.
Or which one? Multiples of us have been doing that. I know
exactly.
Lots of experience, but that's the beauty. You get to learn from mistakes of others.
Too.
Yeah, without making them yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well,
fantastic.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you all. If you want to check out what Kyloe's doing with automation, it is the Connected Automation. You can just Google Kyloe Partners Connected Automation. I'm sure I'll drop a link in here, or someone will. And I appreciate it, Paul, Raymond, and Mr. Davis. Always a pleasure. We need to get you something for that beard. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Likewise.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.